Hello everyone, this is Joshua Smith of Apollo's Artifacts. It is January 2018. Today I'm going to be covering two different articles that talk about government benefits. The first one here is from a Terrence Jeffrey of CNS News. This was published October 23rd, 2013, titled Census. 49% of Americans get government benefits, 82 million in households on Medicaid. And I'll also cover an interesting commentary on this that draws into question some of these statistics, which I think is also important. So it says, in the fourth quarter of 2011, 49.2% of Americans received benefits from one or more government programs, according to data released Tuesday by the Census Bureau. In total, the Census Bureau estimated 151 million plus Americans out of a population then estimated to be 306.8 million received benefits from one or more government programs during the last 3 months of 2011. Those 151 plus million beneficiaries equaled 49.2% of the population. This included 82.45 million, or 26.9% of the population, who live in households in which one or more people received Medicaid benefits. Also among the 151 plus million who received benefits from one or more government programs during that period, 49.9 million who collected Social Security, 49 million who got food stamps, 46.44 million on Medicare, 23.23 million in Women, Infants, and Children Program, or WIC, 20.2 million getting supplemental security income, 13.4 million who lived in public or subsidized rental housing, 5.098 million who received unemployment, 3.178 million who got veterans benefits, and 364,000 who received railroad retirement benefits. But the reaction to this short article, which doesn't say very much in terms of opinion whatsoever, generated literally hundreds of comments, but one of them was particularly helpful as I read through them. It was posted by a Laszlo J. Luongo. He says here that the 49.2% figure is a falsely inflated number. It includes 82.457 million, or 26.9%, who lived in households in which one or more received Medicaid benefits. He says this means if you have a family of 5 and only one person in that household received Medicaid, all of them are counted. And this is more than half of their statistic. It also includes 3.178 million who receive veterans benefits, and he says if your goal is to make it look like half of the population is getting things they don't deserve, then why include veterans? Are they really saying that veterans are mooching off of the rest of the population? It's also double counting. For example, if someone receives Social Security, Medicaid, and food stamps, they're counted as 3 separate people, as well as adding anyone who lives with them, and even if they receive no benefits at all. And I don't know how accurate all that is, but I thought it was an interesting comment that we should take note of. And the next one is from Forbes by Merrill Matthews from July 2nd, 2014, titled, "We've crossed the tipping point. Most Americans now receive government benefits." He says, it begins, Obamacare has pushed us over the entitlements tipping point. In 2011, some 49.2% of U.S. households received benefits, referring back to what I just pointed out from the U.S. Census Bureau. Currently, around 6 to 7 million Americans who have signed up for Obamacare are receiving taxpayer-provided subsidies, though the administration's numbers can't be trusted, but it's the only thing we have to work with. There are another 3 million who have signed up for Medicaid. That means some 10 million Americans, or a total of about 161 million, are now getting government subsidies in one form or another. He says the final number might be somewhat lower, since some have been receiving benefits already. And he says, thus, perhaps 52% of U.S. households, more than half, now receive benefits from the government in one form or another. Conservatives have long dreaded the day when the U.S. crossed the halfway mark because of all the implications for individual and fiscal responsibility. As Benjamin Franklin reportedly said, quote, "When the people find that they can vote themselves money, that will herald the end of the republic," end quote. But he is at pains to point out that not all of the Americans in that are, quote, takers. He says some 42 million are seniors receiving Social Security and Medicare. They aren't getting anything free. They faithfully paid into the system for decades with the expectation they would be getting it back at retirement, and they deserve every penny they get or may not get if Social Security or Medicare has to cut benefits. And one of the things he's trying to point out in this article is the way that once you get these kinds of monies flowing to people, though, it creates all kinds of invested classes, all kinds of invested groups of people who never want to see this change, and they'll fight passionately and dearly to make sure that these things never go away. And of course, that means they're going to have all kinds of politicians who are on their side attempting to serve them in that manner. And he concludes here, the country has crossed the entitlement tipping point. The only hope is to try to transition some of these programs, primarily Social Security, but also Medicare, into personal retirement accounts. They would, over time, be better funded, actually belong to the worker or retiree, and perhaps most importantly, they would take millions of Americans off of the government benefits roll. And I can just say that the future for that is really bleak. I mean, this money for most people is actually not going to be there, and of course, even if it is, as Ron Paul pointed out years ago, it's going to be paid back to you in terms of money that's not worth what it was when you first put it in. I mean, just think about it. Say $200 that you put in 1965 or something. That same $200, if you get it out today, buys far, far less than it did back then. If you had the inflation rate of money from the 200 when it first went in to what it is now, the value would be vastly more than that, and you're not ever going to get that value difference from Social Security. So that money ultimately will not buy, say, the same basket of goods as it would have, during that time. And this goes back also to the program that I recently had on taxation, where I cover many of these same issues about how low income and fixed income people are punished more, in the form of various other state and local sales taxes and excise taxes and things like that, particularly those on groceries, but also other rather mundane items that everyone has to have just to live year to year, which has a proportionately larger effect on the poor than it does on other levels of income. And really, when it comes to the fixed incomes of retirees, when you look at the taxes overall throughout the United States, you very quickly see why people retire to either Arizona or Florida because of the way that they structure their taxes there, having no taxes either on retirement income or no income taxes whatsoever. And, with a combination of the warm climates and, moderately priced homes and things like that, that's why they end up in those two states. And most certainly they don't want to be retiring in places like New York, and especially New York City. But I've had a lot of long episodes lately, so I think I'll cut this one a bit short. That's all. Thanks.